Visual illusions, those fascinating memes and party tricks that seem so ripe for interpretation or misinterpretation, have an endless capacity to mesmerize, delight, and yes, divide us. Remember the dress that lit up the internet? Friendships tested, family dinners ruined, all over the question of whether this dress is blue and black or white and gold. Or this image that had everyone from Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling to the president of El Salvador weighing in on whether it's a horse or a seal, a fish or a donkey. Maybe these images fascinate us because most of the time the act of looking and seeing is something that seems so elemental, so effortless. Visual illusions force us to stop and consider how our sense of sight actually works and whether it is all that reliable. And for that reason, they are a valuable tool for researchers trying to understand the mysterious process of how we actually see the world. It's a question people have been asking and debating for millennia. Now, we've come a long way from ancient Greece, from Plato, who believed that light emanated from our eyes, provoking an interaction between the object and the soul. Aristotle then theorized that sight occurred when the air around an object and the liquid inside of our eyes formed a connection. 1,000 years later, in medieval Cairo, an Arab mathematician and physicist named Alhazen argued that vision starts when light bounces off of objects and enters the eye and travels to the back of the brain, which is the organ that is really giving us sight. And remarkably, Alhazen got it pretty much right. Today, vision scientists agree that we see not with our eyes, but with our brains. And it turns out that the brain is doing this with strikingly minimal information. Light enters the eye as a stream of tiny particles, photons. At the back of the eye, in the retina,
So I'm playing this video as a background because these are the lies that we were fed, and this is how planned illusions work. Distractions, how they also work. How our eyes are distracted from the true creator's work by a lot of human concept. And the human concepts are keeping us enslaved. We can see it all for ourselves. I'm seeing it now in the camera. I'm hoping that you will also look. I'm going to do these practice run videos that I'm doing right now. I'm shut off of the Mike Loziak channel, so I'm going to do it over here. They shut me down for another week over there. I don't know why. I'm going to crop some of these. Right now, this video here bounces from the leaves on the trail, some trees. I got water, running water in here from the river. I got some boulders, rocks, and stones that have been split in half. I'll be able to take you and show you a few things on that. The imagery is all in here: feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast. From the veil to the ground, it is this way. I'm just showing you some of these briefly to take you through some of these videos that I had up. This particular video is January 20th, 2023. They're unmarked videos. These are research vids that I was making when the agencies were all chasing me around everywhere and following me around. And I just said, fuck it, I'm just going to continue doing these videos despite whatever they're up to. And so I got all these vids up now. So now I'm going to start running through and doing the research vids, and I will add them to the Garden Homes series that I'm going to do. I'm going to run the Garden Homes series at the same time. I'm going to continue on with the series to some other big names. I'm only doing the Garden Homes series more or less to protect myself from the agencies, because they act like they're not following me around, and they are. And granted, I mean, there's a whole story behind all that too, and I'm not going to get into it right now, but just pointing it out. So anyways, I'm going to press play again. We're going to listen to these guys, but I just want to point out I do not agree with most of what they're saying in here. There are some things, but it's just another version of proving that all the education has not been good for us. Um, it sounds good. They make some good points, but they're all based on lies and falsities. And what I'm trying to show you guys is that fuck the illusions. You know, if you, I mean, it's fun to look at things that are illusions or whatever. But what I'm saying is, that I've been saying for quite a long time now is keep looking, continue looking. Don't just settle for the illusion. Don't settle for the shadow image. Because in order to see it all and understand it, feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast, and also to note all the triangular shapes that you're seeing in here, okay? All these little tiny little triangular shapes of all different colors. See them all everywhere? They're everywhere. They're all triangular shapes. They're not square pixels like the square pixels I was showing you in your computer. What humans have developed is an analog, shitty version of the true creator's work. Digital versions even are still shitty versions of the true creator's work. Square pixels are the how you'll be able to deter what is the true creator's work and what is work of humans. What I did like about listening to this video is it points out quite a lot of things, but some of the things that were very interesting are the way that we will go along with illusions. Our mind wants to go along with them. That's one thing that's fascinating. Number two, they talk about contrast in our eyes and continuity, and they're also wrong about it. But in other words, they call it evolution. We're evolving to a point, and my come back to that when they say that. If I'm not here in the room to distribute it, it's the opposite of that.
Microscope.
We have lost continuity in our eyes. They have taken away over time, not given more to us. All the outer space nonsense and all the garbage, it so pisses me off. I don't want to fucking hear about it anymore. But unfortunately, they've got everybody, 7.8 billion zombies, have been convinced that in the heliocentric model or the geocentric model for that matter, and they were all fucking bullshit. And it's very frustrating because nobody can leave that ballpark. And that's one of the things I like about listening to these people. If you think about it, what they're about to say, how to create these illusions. And one of the ways is deceptions and distractions by the humans, by the human population. We distract ourselves a lot. Every couple of milliseconds, we're distracting ourselves with something else so that we don't have to look at what it is I'm showing you. We don't want to have to take a minute out of our time to focus our eyes and look and see the feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast. To look through and pick out the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, down here, mustache, going on, we don't want to do that. We don't want to pick it out. We don't want to take note and see that it goes in all directions. It's not up, down, left, right, backward, forward, the way that the false creator slash creator had designed. No, this is the true creator's design, is what I'm showing you and telling you. And that's how you can prove it to yourself visually, is because it's in all directions. It's all directions. And the true creator does not see up, down, left, right, backward, forward, in and out. And we can see that for ourselves. I'll make a quick note too as I'm going along and doing these. The cropping. My eyes have gotten used to it. It's gotten better and better over time. But this whole cropping thing that I'm doing for you, I'm only cropping out so that these large images, but really my eyes, it's nothing special. That's the part I want to explain is everyone that comes to these things, I'm trying to say that I'm something special, that I can see this, and no, it's opposite of that. I'm saying everyone can see it. We all can see it. We've been distracted from seeing it. When we do see it, we go back to what these guys are about to talk about, hallucinations. We're about to go back to implanted, programmed hallucinations. You've been told that you live on a spinning whip parakeet ball spinning at 1,100 miles an hour, and all their fascinating bullshit story that you can prove with your own eyes is all nonsense. But yet you will not go look at the truth and the reality, and you rather go along with the nonsense. Going along with the nonsense saves you from argument and debate, and you can get to work on time, you can get to school on time. But what I'm cropping for you and cutting out for you is only small portions just to pick you out some images. They're everywhere, they're in every direction, and eventually your eyes will start to see it and you'll understand it more as you're seeing the imagery in every little thing. That's why sometimes I'll start doing this. See all the little tiny ones? See the little faces? Hold on, let me get them in here for you. There we go. So if you do this in front of your camera, you pause your camera and do this, because you'll see that I'm getting the smaller and smaller images for you that your eyes would not pick up because they're distracted by the collage. Now this is natural. This is just leaves, dirt, sticks, shit that fell on the ground. There might even be footprints. I don't see any, but there could be. In other words, human influence could be involved in here. You could take all these leaves, rake them into a pile. It's still going to be feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast. It's still going to show you the true creators, builders that are building everything. And you can feel free to take your fingers, isolate images, because you're not going to be used to isolating and cropping with your eyes. My eyes do that. So now that my eyes do that, it's a lot easier for me, and it's more fun, and I can see things more clearly, and all that kind of shit. But I'm also had to get over a fear of looking, and then an understanding of it all. And you have to do that on your own, because nobody else, everyone else out there is going to go along with these guys, with these medical industry people. And the psychology and everything, it was totally purposeful. Now, I'm not saying these people know that because they seem like nice people. What I'm saying is they were educated. They were educated. In other words, programmed to believe these things. So even if some things prove to be true on one hand, in other words, it might be an illusion that 80% of people can go along with, or whatever, and they can all agree with it, but that still does not make it true or reality, even if 100% of the people went along with it. Yes, 80% of the people, because everybody's programmed differently. Some people accept some programs and not others, where other people will accept those programs and not others, and all that kind of thing, you know? So, anyways, I'll shoot the shit a little bit as we go along, but I'm going to play this. My videos are still getting deleted. I having a hard time. If they don't get scrambled on the camera or deleted from my camera, then some of them are not making it up to YouTube, and the ones that do make it up onto YouTube and they're able to upload them, then I'm getting deleted once I'm on YouTube, and then they shut me down for a week. They, whatever their reasonings are, they don't want me posting videos on YouTube. They're giving me a really hard time, and so I'll keep giving it a shot over here now and see what happens. It's only been a couple days. I've been back on the Miguel Everyone channel, and that's where this video here is from that we're looking at, January 2023. And I'm just going to look around a little bit on there.
Microscopic photoreceptors, rods and cones as they are called, transform those bits of light into signals that travel along the optic nerve to the visual cortex, much as Alhazen postulated. Even more remarkable, only a small part of the retina, the center, called the fovea, sees in high resolution. So to see something clearly, our fovea has to be pointed directly at it. To get a sense of how small an area the fovea can take in at any given moment, you can draw a letter on each of your thumbnails and hold them at arm's length. If you do that, you'll notice that focusing on one of your thumbnails makes the letter on the other thumbnail appear blurry. For this reason, we all unconsciously move our eyes around constantly, scanning the world to gather up these tiny patches of high-resolution signal. And to put it all together, The brain must quickly fill gaps in the visual information it's receiving, creating a picture of the physical world that seems rich, coherent, and convincing, all in fractions of a second. Leading visual scientists to ask, how exactly do our brains accomplish all that? How much of what we see is objective reality, and how much of what we see is really the product of some fast and sometimes flawed interpretation? To examine those questions, each of our guests tonight uses the study of visual illusions to try to catch the mind in the act of seeing, asking in essence, how by fooling the eye, we can reveal the truth about our visual perceptions of the world. Susana Martinez Conde joins us from New York City, where she directs the Laboratory of Integrative Neuroscience at SUNY Downstate Medical Center. She is one of the world's leading authorities on the neuroscience of magic. Welcome, Susana. Rodrigo Kian-Kirago joins us from University of Leicester in the UK, where he is the director of the Center for Systems Neuroscience. He studies how memory impacts visual perception and is the discoverer of what has been called the Jennifer Aniston neuron, something that we're going to hear about later tonight. Welcome, Rodrigo. And finally, we have Emily Balcetis, who joins us from New York City, where she is an associate professor of psychology at New York University. She studies how our psychological states can change what we see and how our experience and motivations can influence how we see everything from visual illusions to police altercations to athletic challenges. Welcome, Emily, and welcome to you all. So I just want to begin to set the stage. Susanna, why, and all of you can weigh in on this, why visual illusions? Why are they a good way in to that kind of investigation?
Well, the thing about illusions is that we often tend to think about them as the errors of perception, where the brain gets it wrong. But this is not correct. The fact is that illusions are not only inherent to all of our perception, they are not the exception, they are the rule, and in fact, they're necessary. We wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, they are necessary. They're necessary because you need to lie to everyone to get them to ignore reality. You need them to go along with your human devised illusions, and that's what they are. That's the same thing I've been telling you, even about things as simple to see for ourselves as the moon and the sun, what they are, what these objects are. Are they even objects? You can see it for yourself. You can see it and understand it for yourself, but you won't. You'll wait for the government. You wait for your school teachers, your parents. You wait for whoever to tell you what to base reality on, and it's all wrong. So if you're going to keep going along with all this nonsense, then what do you expect? Of course, we're going to turn around one day, 1,000 years into the future, and be to the place that we are today, which is that everything has been a lie, So it's no surprise. If you're going to keep going along with all the lies all the time, then, what the fuck should we expect?
Perceive if illusions did not exist the way they do.
Rodrigo, your take on that?
Yeah, I think you're tackling a very nice and philosophical issue, no? It goes back to, well, at least to Kant, I will say, because we don't see the reality as it is outside. We see our perception of reality, the way we interpreted it. And I think one of the take-home messages about how the brain works, one of the things I learned in all these years is that we don't see the things as they are outside. We just take very, very little information and we make a construction of the reality inside our heads. So actually we do see with the brain, the eye is just a sensory organ that brings this little information we capture, and then we create all this construction inside our heads. And visual illusions is when we try to fill in information that somehow lead us to see things that are striking.
Yeah. Emily, first thoughts?
In all honesty, I came to study visual illusions because they're just fun.
Yeah.
But more scientifically, the reason that I study them is that it gives us some insight into bigger social issues, like polarization in our society. Visual illusions are a very tight, experimental stimulus that we can present that that can help us understand why does somebody see it one way, why does someone else see it an entirely different way. And from that basic understanding of the visual illusion, we can extrapolate to understand bigger social issues that might be related.
No, because they were programmed to see them that way. When we look at the moon, no one will go look at the moon and see it for what it is. I've been trying for 5 years. No one will see it for what it is. They all think that it's this big rock that's 250,000 miles away. They've got a distance figured out in their mind because that's what they were told. They think that people land on it, that it's a solid surface that people can land on. They don't realize what it truly is. I have the model to my right. I'm going to get into the model as we go along and try to get people to understand again what it really is, and that the only reason it gets complicated and confusing is because it goes against everything we were ever told. It goes against the illusions we were programmed with, and instead of being able to see things for what they are, we all refuse to do so. But it's there. It's there to see, and I think it's purposeful that we were distracted and deceived from it, obviously, for good reasons. They want you to believe in outer space so that someday they can bring in their new gods, which are space alien gods. So they're ready to do that now in the next 50 years or whatever. They're going to start doing that, and they'll bring the slaves onto a, like I said, after the smoke clears from this reset. I don't know how big the reset will be, but after the smoke clears, who knows how many hundreds of years it'll be. And when the smoke clears, everybody that's left will all believe in space alien gods, and they'll think everything's being controlled by that. And the real true humans that are controlling the bio realm, instead of the humans controlling it and the masses by themselves, which would be a really good thing. Instead, we just leave it all at this. We say it's the 1%, but it's even beyond that 1% that are actually have the true reins on all this. And they are the ones that create the illusions every time we come back up. That's why we went through thousands of years of religious wars, right? Because those were all the old religions, and those Bibles are all going to be pushed out, and they're going for the space alien stuff. And the churches are going right along with it. They think that God and Jesus are now too came from space aliens. They'll go along with anything. Catholicism and all the other religions for that matter too.
To political partisanship and other concerns within society that are leading us to have very different interpretations of what's happening in the world around us.
Jumping off from all those comments, I mean, what we're going to do here tonight is examine some very specific visual illusions to make this really concrete and visual as the subject is. And just to give a sense of what it means to have the brain create things that do seem to be contrary to what we think is out there in the world, or examples where different people with different experience and different preconceptions will see different things in the very same image and so forth. And to that end, let's just jump in with the first example, a very simple illusion I think many people in our audience have seen. You know, you look at this and, you know, I think everybody sees a triangle in the middle, but then you ask yourself, is it really there? So, Rodrigo, I mean, take this first one away. What are we seeing here? What does it tell us?
Well, basically, we are inferring the form of a triangle just from the borders. And actually, you can make it more brutal. I mean, you can put the Pac-Mans a bit further away, but the moment you see the borders, that they coincide and that they form a line, we are feeling this information in our head, and we're actually perceiving these as lines that form a triangle. And it's very simple to break this illusion. You just rotate a tiny bit the Pac-Mans, and then you have the borders not coinciding with each other. Just a tiny misalignment will completely break the illusion. So it's the major principle, right? Is that we don't see all what is in front of us. We see very tiny bits of information, and we're constructing something in our head. In this case, from the borders, we're constructing the image of a triangle, and it's impossible not to see it.
Yeah, you know, I found this one particularly interesting. The example that you talk about, rotating the Pac-Man certainly takes the image away too. But I found it interesting if you mask it by just, say, putting a piece of paper over two of the three Pac-Men and then slowly move that piece of paper. Ask yourself, when does the triangle appear? Sort of what's the minimal information necessary for this illusion to work? I presume it may be the same for everybody, but for me, I had to get past the second Pac-Man and just a little hint of the third. And that was enough for it to sort of just snap into focus. And as you say, you just can't unsee it at that point. So, Susanna, you had a point that you wanted to make on this?
To me, what this illusion reveals is a couple of important concepts. First off, these
A couple things that they do say that are factual in what I'm showing you too are, and they mention them, but they don't mention them in the way that I'm trying to show them to you, in the way that I talk to you all about these things, which is angles and distances of perspective. And they kind of go into that a little bit coming up too, but again, you don't have to take their word for it. Please don't take their word for it because they're wrong. And don't take my word for it either. I'm right. But the point is in order to prove that I'm right, you need to go look for yourselves. You can't just not take my word because I'm a fucking idiot and take their word because they have a medical background or a degree or a college education of some kind, right? It's a big mistake to do that because what I keep trying to explain to you is that the and what we call intelligence is opposite of what it's just programming. It's just programming. So if you learn all the lies, you go to school, they teach you all the lies, you learn all the lies, you go along with the lies, you program others the same lies that you've learned, and you do so in a very confident way because after all, you're the one with the education. So you have every right to get on your high horse and explain to everybody that, oh no, everything that this guy on YouTube showing you is just an illusion. It's an optical illusion. Even though you can go fucking see it and imitate it and copy it, just like science says that you should be able to do, and that everybody should be able to replicate it several times over in order to prove this as a theory, and so we can go into a theoretic, go from hypothesis to a theory. But I'm telling you, that's also a bunch of bullshit. They fucking lied about everything. So for me to argue with all of them, it's a losing battle for me. You all believe everything that you were ever told because they taught it to you in your school and your parents taught it to you, and therefore you're not going to go look at what it is I'm showing you. And then even if you do and you happen to accidentally see something, you're going to just throw it up there as optical illusion. It was not real. What I'm looking at, even though I'm seeing only feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast everywhere I look, even though I still have to say that according to science, according to what I learned in school, that's just an optical illusion. What I see on television, what the government tells me, what my school tells me, that's what I have to live of as a reality, even though, and this has been going on for such a long time, and you can see how bad it was by looking through time at all these wars and all this shit. And you go through every one of them. Look at the time that the buildings came down in New York, right? I can't say dates anything because, of course, my videos will get deleted, and I'll get banned or penalized or whatever they're gonna do. So I'll just say there was a time, can never remember the day, but the exact date, but there was a time where these buildings came down. And one of the things that happened in this amazing thing is buildings coming down defied the laws of gravity. These scientific laws that you've made up about gravity, which are also false and lies. But anyways, you all agreed to go by them. But then when these buildings come down at free fall speed, no one questions and says, well, in order for that to happen, you had to remove the mass, right? Because that's the end of the long, drawn out argument and debate about how this could not be and how it's impossible and it's crazy talk and conspiracy theory shit. No, no, you have made the science. You said it. You're the ones that all agreed with it. So if you're, according to you, you say that the only things that can defy gravity, you've been telling me since I was a little kid, is airfoil manipulation. In other words, wings on a bird or wings on an airplane or things like that. Paper floating to the ground, that kind of thing. And then you had mass. And then you also had, water also, right? You can defy gravity by going into the water, depending on if something's filled with air, so that it comes in all those things too. So I forget what that one's called, but there's that one too. And then the most important to me for this particular argument is mass itself. So if you have a building that's built with steel and concrete structures, and you should be able to park 7 to 10 fucking airplanes in both buildings, and they should not come down at free fall speed. That should not be according to your science. But yet it happens. Everybody questions it. Your own family will fucking turn you in and say that you're talking conspiracy theories, and you should be shut down on all your channels, and they shouldn't allow you on Facebook to talk to your family anymore, and you should not be allowed to even speak, because that's how stupid you are for you to actually believe in the gravity that we've been telling you about since you were fucking born. But now that you are questioning the idea of these buildings coming down at free fall speed, all of a sudden gravity's out the fucking window and nobody fucking pays attention. It's unbelievable. So you can argue all day long about, you know, it wasn't strong enough to make it through the building, or we could say, all kinds of arguments that went along with that. How would they set up the building for a demo? And we could talk about the third building that fell, that never even got hit by a plane, but somehow it fell at near free fall speed, and right down to the ground. It's just impossible. It's totally impossible unless you remove the mass first. It's pretty simple. And yet, no one will fucking look. No one will think about it. No one will talk about it. It's ridiculous. And that's the way it is with everything. But right now, just as far as optics go, that this video, I mean, this is really, it's banging in here. I mean, I could be going around doing a lot better job of what I'm doing looking, but I'm just looking. I'm just looking today, that's all. Yeah, it's very, very good. And it's better to do all of this for yourselves so you get the hang of it. But if you're going to come in and do a 2 second view and say, oh, yeah, I don't see it. Or if you come in and say, oh, yeah, I see this one. And then that's all you're going to be willing to look at and all that kind of shit. It's not going to do you any good. All right, let's go back to this.
Famous classical Kanitsa triangle. It's constructed with very little information. So this is a filling in illusion, but more generally, it reveals that with very scarce information, we can construct in our minds a pretty complex concept. So the brain doesn't need a whole lot to go on. But the other thing that I would address is that there is critical information. Having said this, there is critical information that these Pac-Man are provided, because this is not just an illusion about building a shape from a little bit of the edges. These are portions of the edges that are very specific, particularly the corners. And we have shown, for instance, in my laboratory, that even at the level of the retina, you're going to have stronger responses to corners than to straight edges. And in fact, if you open the Pac-Man and you had semicircles, for instance, and you push them against the sides of the triangle, so you had an equal portion of the triangle being revealed by the Pac-Man, but you wouldn't touch the corners, it would be much harder to make out the triangle from these illusory contours.
So let's go from there to another class of visual illusions. And this is sort of a very powerful example of contrast, that the eye and the brain is really focused upon relative differences as opposed to absolute. So tell us what we're seeing here.
I remember I was a postdoc at Caltech in California, and we had...
Okay, so what they're about to talk about right now has to go with the mineral streets in the sky. They've been mineral streeting the sky. You all ignore it. You all deny it. I want to mention, because I'm going to mention in the next series quite a bit about it. Another one of the liars that you all have working for you, and you think that he's such a good guy, is Edward Snowden. And you got the other one, Julian Assange, which makes me question George Galloway, makes me question Morris, this guy Morris I'm making a series to. It makes me wonder how involved are they in all this? Are they just, as usual, my big question, are they involved in it? Do they really know, or are they just products of their environment? Either way, they're liars, but I just like to know if people are purposeful liars. It tells me if they know the story better than I do, and they're just not, and they're hiding it. That's bothersome to me if they do that, but it's possible. And that's one of the things I'm always looking for. Who's the purposeful liar, right? Like Joe Rogan and them guys I can call out and say for sure he's a liar. But anyways, back to the story. If they've been filling the skies with this and changing the color of our sun, they also mentioned that. Someone in this video is going to mention in a little while about the sun at one time being yellow. She talks about it as being evolutionary and happening through evolution. Bullshit, man. Humans have been dumping these fucking carbons purposely, because it's intentional. They don't hide it. There are certain, you can go to the United Nations, has their agendas on it. The leading world powers that they'll call themselves, they all admit it and they talk about what they're doing. It's us. It's the 7.8 billion zombies that ignore it and deny it. So the other day we had Joe Rogan. I mean, was it Joe Rogan? Anyway, yeah, I believe it was Joe Rogan on with Snowden, and then people were reporting on that, and Snowden said three main things that were all lies. So it tells me now I know that Snowden, which I already knew, because everything that Snowden ever told us and Assange is shit that we already fucking knew. So why would we act? Why would 400 million people, maybe more, all pretend that these people are hiding from our governments, and because they're trying to help us by showing us the truth and reality and things? The fuck out of here, man. We were told by even on national television shows and newscasts and everything for many years, all the spy techniques and all the spy shit that all countries were doing. We already knew it. But Snowden comes out and says it, and now it's fucking true. No, no, no. They got CIA plants on every realm, on every corner, in every direction, and they work together like this, and it's just the way it is. So what did Snowden say? All right, so one of them was, he said the moon landings were real, which we know is not true. Just go look at the moon for yourself and you'll know that all that shit was all nonsense. So by him saying that, that means that he's on the side of the liars. I already know that. Otherwise, he'd come out and say, you know what, not only was the moon landing fake, but the whole entire heliocentric model was fake, right? Then he says space aliens are real, right? He says space aliens are real, but that's not what the balloons are coming around right now, he claimed. That also makes him a liar, because there are no such thing as space aliens, because there's no such thing as outer space as the way we were told it is. So therefore, we know that one's a lie. And then he finished up by explaining that chemtrails are fake. Chemtrails are a conspiracy theory. That's what he said, which is a huge fucking lie, because all three of these things we can all look for ourselves and see them on a regular basis, and we can see that they're true and they're real and they're happening, because they're happening every day. I've got thousands of videos on them, and everybody involved, all the liars are all jump on the bandwagon, and they mark the shit out of my videos, telling my subscribers or anybody that views my videos what it is I really mean. What he really means is condensation trails. They won't give you even the United Nations version of a chemtrail. They won't give you that, and they won't explain to you that these are different terminologies that were all created by the CIA in order to control the narrative when it comes to these mineral streets. But the really killer of the mineral streets is that nobody looks anyway. Not your family, not your friends. Nobody will fucking look, you know? So, it's fucking ridiculous. And I'm going to do some videos on the mineral streets that I do not call chemtrails or contrails or anything else, because I know that they're all full of shit. But the United Nations doesn't hide it. We just don't look. We just refuse to look. And then just got to look above your fucking heads. You count them up and you realize how many there are and everything. Nope, they all run. Everybody I know that I've shown over the years, and that's been 15 years or more now, that I've been showing people the mineral streets and trying to get some answers and talk about it. They
A
won't
lot
do
of
it, man.
speakers coming to give seminars, and one of the speakers was a very
Go back to school, they
good
tell
visual
me.
scientist
You
from
know,
MIT called
go back,
Ed
go back. You
Adelson.
better
He
go
showed
back to
exactly this
preschool
illusion
or
on the
whatever.
screen, and then he said, you know what, the squares, the checks of A and B are exactly the same color. And then we all look at the checkerboard and we say, no, no way. I mean, he means something else. And then he said, I will.
So what I'm pointing out in this video as I'm doing it, as I'm making this video, and I'm probably going to zoom in on this area in a minute, but this is a drill mark, and this is where this stone was split. So they drilled here and probably several other areas on this big stone, and then they split the stone. So what I noticed years ago when I was looking into all this, because I wanted to know what the true creator build was responsible for, because it seemed pretty incredible to me that you could see his build and his builders in all of the biosystem, and then also things that are moving along, such as clouds, waters, things that were in motion, smoke, all that kind of stuff. So when I noticed that I was able to extract the feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast, and also the triangular builders out of all those things, I wanted to better understand stones and rocks. Was it only on the outside surface of a stone or a rock? I know I can grab the imagery from it. I know I can extract the EMNC from this outside of it. But that's pretty incredible that when I find stones and rocks that are drilled, I can go right down the drill marks and also find both sides of the stone that were split, and I can also extract the imagery from within. Then also I started doing within trees and within animals and the inside of us and all this kind of stuff. And then I started realizing, okay, that's when I figured out the in and out part of all this. So I already knew from visual observations for a while that the true creator did not see things as up, down, left, right, backward, forward. And I was saying that for several years. And then all of a sudden, when I came upon this part of it all, I realized, holy shit, it's even in and out. And that was even including births. The birth of the seed. Where did the seed start from? And we were always told that a seed or a flower or anything opened like this and opened. And then what I realized was that no, because the builders are building from all directions at all times. They're in here with us everywhere, all around us, building everything in this realm at all times. People are having a hard time to understand that. You know, most people think the build is over. The baby was born, even, let's say. Let's take it to that point. Okay, so okay, I get you, Mike. So you're saying the builders build everything in here, including us. So the builders built me, and here I am. I'm a baby now. From here, as a baby, everything else from there on up is human growth. It's done by nature and it's human growth, and it's magic or scientific magic or however you want to call it. And I'm saying no. I've realized that no, it's not actually the way that it works. The builders are building us all throughout our entire lives, good and bad. They build the rot, they build the new, they build the old, they build the blue, whatever. In other words, the builders are all around us all times, building everything at all times. They build everything. So they don't just build the fire. They don't just build the rocks that are around the fire. They don't just build the dirt that's under the fire. They don't just build the sticks and branches and wood that is in the fire. They don't just burn the flames, build the flames of the fire. They don't just build the smoke that is billowing into the air. It's all already there. That's why I try to show you with smoke and steam and things like that, that once you feed the system, visually you can see the builders. So where you see nothing all in front of your face, you can go out and we can go like this, and there's nothing here where my hand is. You think this is all nothing here. But if I put up a bellow of smoke right here, like I did in that last video, and I'll do in a couple more videos, then in that smoke you see the imagery, and then you begin to understand, okay, so it's all around it. And then how high does it go? Well, you think that there's something called zero and infinity, when in fact that was just another human lie. There's no such thing as zero, and there's no such thing as infinity. So therefore we can go all the way to the moon and visually look into the moon and extract the imagery from the moon, determine who's responsible for the main building, who's also influenced it. We can figure out and separate it and divide it from the true creator's work, because we know the true creator, of course, is responsible for all builds, but he doesn't care about the builds. In other words, he doesn't care about the bio realm, the true creator. There's no evidence of any of that. But he still graciously builds everything, right? His builders are still on the assignment for all times. So there's no anger. He's not upset saying, "Oh, why are my builders wasting their time building the false creator slash creators bio realm? I don't want them doing that." He said, there's no evidence that the true creator does anything like that. Humans take advantage of the other humans' intelligence, programming them and using their intelligence to convince them of all these lies. And I'm out of time. I'll be right back.